The shocking truth about temptation, what the Bible reveals at midnight. The air crackled with tension that night, the kind that sends shivers racing down your spine. It was past midnight, and the streets lay wrapped in a thick fog strange enough to prompt whispers in the dark. People said it was cursed, that the very essence of temptation lingered there, waiting to pounce when the clock struck 12. Little did they know, the truth was more chilling than any tale. As Sarah stepped outside her door, the moon hung low, casting an eerie glow on the cobblestones. She felt the weight of countless gazes behind her, illuminated shadows flitting just out of sight. Were they mere tricks of the light, or something sinister stalking her? Voices darted amongst the trees like leaves caught in a restless breeze. Each rustle made her heart pound harder, a drum calling her toward an unspeakable fate. Then she saw a figure standing at the end of the street, cloaked in darkness, more felt than seen. The hairs on her neck stood erect. It was then that she recalled the stories, the ominous tales told in hushed tones about souls lured in the dead of night, trapped by the whispers of the damned. She remembered her grandmother's warnings: temptation comes at midnight. Some things aren't just folklore but warnings. Panic surged. She turned back, ready to retreat into her safe haven, when a shattering scream pierced the silence, freezing her in her tracks. The world around her faded. Only the scream remained, echoing off the walls, growing louder, filling her ears until it felt like her head might explode. It wasn't just a call for help, it was a direct invitation to danger, a siren song that wrapped itself around her gut, urging her to move closer, to discover what lay in the shadows. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Each second stretched into eternity as she stood there, heart pounding, body torn between fight or flight. The fog thickened, wrapping around her like a shroud, and as the scream faded, she realized it wasn't just fear she felt, it was an undeniable urge to find out who or what made that cry. The darkness seemed to beckon her, and Sarah's instincts screamed that she was at the heart of something big, something terrifying. With trembling hands, she took a step forward, curiosity battling fear. What waited for her in the depths of that night? The very air buzzed with anticipation, the kind that promised an answer but demanded a price. And in that moment of hesitation, with every part of her body screaming to run, Sarah embraced the mystery. What secrets would the night reveal about temptation? Would she escape or become another tale whispered in the dark? The moment she stepped further into the fog, a chilling breeze rushed past her, carrying an unsettling whisper. An incomprehensible melody wrapped itself around her, enticing her deeper into the darkness. Sarah forced herself to concentrate, the booming heartbeat in her chest threatening to distract her from the growing intensity around her. As she moved cautiously forward, the figure at the end of the street began to take shape. It was cloaked, obscured in shades of gray and black, but the way it swayed ever so slightly made her skin crawl. Was it moving towards her? The fog swirled around its feet like smoke, threatening to hide its form completely. Help! The voice was weak and trembling. It sliced through the thick silence like a blade, pulling her in. Torn between instinct and sheer curiosity, Sarah squinted, trying to make out the figure's features. "Hello?" she called, her voice barely reaching the entity. There was no response, just the whisper of the wind through the trees and a tightening knot in her stomach. "Who are you?" A low chuckle erupted from the figure, sending more chills down her spine than she thought possible. "Come closer. You're not afraid, are you?" Fear tightened its grip around her heart, but a part of Sarah's mind pushed her forward. She had never been one to back down from a challenge, and the prospect of unraveling this mystery now felt almost intoxicating. With each step she took, the shapes in the fog morphed. They danced just out of reach like memories drifting back into an old attic, familiar yet foreign. "Sarah," the voice cooed, and it clawed at her very core. How did it know her name? Her breath hitched, and instinctively, she turned to flee. But the moment she turned, a blinding flash lit the street, illuminating the figure, fully a face carved from stone with hollow eyes that seemed to absorb the light rather than reflect it. The horror of it seized her, and she stumbled backward, heart racing in her chest. "Why do you run?" it taunted, its voice now morphing into a low growl. "Don't you wish to know what I offer? Your deepest desires await, Sarah." In that moment, echoing loudly in her ears, she remembered the warnings once more. Could this be the source of temptation her grandmother spoke of? Could she truly trust anything in this cursed fog? "Run!" whispered a voice from behind her, and she whipped around, eyes wide. But the street was empty, no one was there. Just the suffocating fog pressing against her, filled with the scent of damp earth and something foul. Without thinking, she bolted in the opposite direction down the street, adrenaline surging through her veins, pulling her away from the monster lurking in the dimness. Her pulse raced, and the only sound she could hear was the pounding of her heart against her ribcage. As she sprinted further, desperate to escape, she stumbled, nearly falling to the ground. When she regained her balance, she turned to glance back. The figure was gone, disappeared into the fog like a nightmare fading at dawn. But as Sarah caught her breath, a realization washed over her. The streets around her felt different. She was no longer in her neighborhood but in a maze that spiraled inward. Every street was twisted, every turn felt wrong. A faraway laughter danced through the night, haunting her with its playful malice. The whisper returned, louder now, tantalizing, promising if she sought the truth, she must make the ultimate choice, and in that moment, she understood this wasn't just about temptation, it was about destiny. Was she strong enough to confront it? What would she have to sacrifice? With renewed determination, Sarah pushed forward, each step echoing in the fog, each breath carrying the weight of choices unmade. What lay ahead was uncertain, but she knew one thing: she wouldn't back down. And as the laughter faded, another scream erupted in the distance, urgent and desperate, sending ripples of fear through her once more. What truth lay intertwined with that scream, and would she dare to find out? Sarah pressed onward, her heart racing in sync with the rhythm of the desperate scream she had heard moments before. The sound echoed like a warning, a chilling reminder that she was not alone in this oppressive fog. Shadows flitted at the edges of her vision, teasing her senses with the promise of both salvation and peril. She had to know what lay hidden within this shroud of mist. The streets twisted and turned, each corner feeling like an invitation to madness. Brambles and shadows clawed at her clothes, as if the very darkness wanted to pull her back, to swallow her whole. With every step she took, the fog pressed in tighter, curling around her like a serpent. The laughter, once distant, grew nearer, layered with malevolence. Sarah, the voice was different this time. It didn't beckon, it commanded. The truth is waiting. Embrace it. She stumbled, her throat dry and tight. Who are you? She shouted, frustration and fear mingling in her voice. What do you want from me? But the only reply was the oppressive silence of the fog. Her breath came faster, panic swelling within her like a tidal wave. She clasped her hands together tightly, fighting the urge to fall apart. Just then, a flicker of light appeared ahead, illuminating a small alleyway. It beckoned to her like a lighthouse in a storm. Acting on instinct, she darted toward it, pushing through the mists. As she neared, the glow solidified into a warm, golden light, wrapping around her like the embrace of a longtime friend. Stepping into the light felt like crossing a threshold into another realm. The cobblestones beneath her feet sparkled as if alive, pulsating with warmth. Around her, a small gathering of figures stood, cloaked in white, their faces obscured by hoods. A shimmering energy surrounded them, and she could hear soft murmurs, words that slithered like tendrils of smoke. What is this place? She breathed, entranced and terrified all at once. One figure stepped forward, drawing back their hood to reveal kind, glowing eyes that seemed familiar. We are here for you, Sarah. You must decide. Decide what? She asked, battling the urge to flee. Each second felt like an eternity, the air thickening with expectation. Whether to unveil the depths of your heart or remain bound to the fears that haunt you. The fog tempts you with desire, but it also conceals the truth you must confront, the figure explained, their voice both soothing and urgent. A wave of uncertainty crashed over her. What truth? What darkness lay hidden in her heart? A sharp cry, echoing through the mist, sent her mind racing. The scream had belonged to someone caught in their own web of despair, and the weight of it settled heavily in her chest. Do not ignore it. The figure urged, their light dimming slightly. Every choice has its consequences, and every truth has its cost. With a surge of courage, Sarah stepped closer, drawn to the figure's shimmering presence. I want to know. I don't want to live in fear anymore. The moment she surrendered to her desire for clarity, the fog lifted slightly. Visions began to manifest around her, memories tangled with shadows of regret, whispers of hope drowned in a sea of longing. Each vision pulled at her heart. She gasped, staggering back as a particular scene unfolded, the image of a child's laughter through a sun-soaked backyard. It was her childhood, joyous and free, filled with warmth, and as it melted away, it revealed a darker memory. No! She cried out, instinctively raising her hands to shield herself from the painful truth that threatened to drown her. Sarah, face it. The figure cried, their light flickering with urgency. In that moment, she had to choose. Was she strong enough to confront what lay hidden, to heal the wounds of her past? As she closed her eyes, the fog thickened again, swirling with new fervor, beckoning her one last time. The laughter faded entirely, replaced by a cacophony of anguished cries. She felt the balance shift. Was it too late to turn back? And when she opened her eyes, she found herself back where she started, staring into the abyss. The figure gone as if it had never existed, leaving only the echoes of her choices. What she faced now was the haunted silence of the fog, and that unanswered scream still rang in her ears. Would she dare uncover the truth, or would the shadows consume her entirely? Sarah's heart pounded as she stood at the crossroads of fog and memory. The shadows enveloped her, pulling her down, whispering secrets and fears she had long buried. Every breath felt heavy, laden with a weight that was both familiar and suffocating. The remnants of the vision lingered, the echo of her laughter fading into a wretched chorus of cries. A choice, she murmured, glancing around for the soothing presence who had just moments ago urged her to confront her demons. But they were gone, leaving her alone in a morass of swirling gray. She took a step forward, hesitantly, her foot crunching against the damp cobblestones beneath her. With each hesitant step, she felt drawn deeper into the fog, its tendrils curling around her ankles like angry vines. The silence was deafening now, even the laughter had vanished, replaced entirely by an unsettling stillness. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught her eye. Her breaths quickened as she noticed a shadowy figure in the distance, almost ethereal. It danced just beyond the limits of her vision, teasing her, beckoning her closer. Sarah, come. It called, a voice both haunting and familiar. There was an urgency in its tone, a demand buried under layers of despair. Who are you? She whispered, her voice barely above a breath. Your guide, the figure replied, but it remained cloaked, its features obscured. Follow me to the truth. Despite the trepidation curling in her stomach, a spark of determination ignited within her. Shadows could no longer dictate her fate. With newfound resolve, she sprinted toward the figure, determination mapping every step. The further she went, the more intense the cries grew, morphing into a symphony of chaos that clawed at her mind. Stop! She shouted. Enough of this! Her voice rang through the fog, surprising even herself with the unexpected strength she wielded. She wasn't merely a bystander anymore, she was taking ownership of her journey. But each footfall felt like it was drenched in the memories she feared to confront, and she pressed on, following the figure into a clearing. As she stumbled into an open space, everything shifted. The fog parted, revealing a scene that left her breathless, a landscape of twisted trees and withering vines. In the center stood an ominous well, ancient and covered in dark vines. The calls that had echoed in her mind harmonized with the shadows now swirling around its mouth, beckoning her to peer inside. Look closer. Look what lies beneath. The figure urged, now holding a brilliant luminescence that made the shadows recoil. Gathering her courage, Sarah approached the well. She peered down into the abyss, and darkness stared back. Images flickered into existence above the surface, moments of joy, moments of pain, lost friendships, unspoken truths. Each one hit her like a wave, pulling her into the depths of despair. Why do you hide from your own light? The figure asked, its voice lowering, urging compassion. Every truth has power, even those that sting like venom. Strip away the layers, embrace it. Tears threatened to spill from her eyes. She felt everything resonate in her chest, the fear, the guilt, the longing for closure. And just as she thought she could pull back, she caught a glimpse of something bright buried amongst the darkness. Please. Show me. She shouted, her voice fierce against the din of torment. The figure raised its hands, and the pool of darkness began to swirl and rise, shaping into tangible memories. Each moment flared to life before her, the colors vibrant against the gray horror that cloaked them, but then silence. The veil drew tight once more, and the figure's light flickered ominously. Are you ready? It asked, urgency coating every syllable. Ready for what? Sarah replied, her voice quaking, uncertainty bubbling beneath her resolve. The choice will demand everything, the figure warned solemnly. And then the world around her shifted, plunging once more into the fog. Sarah stood at the edge, the echoes of her heart crashing like waves against craggy shores. Would she brave the well of her own making? Would the truth grant her solace or plunge her deeper into despair? With the shadow swirling ominously behind her, she took a deep breath, her resolve firm yet trembling. But what awaited her on the other side of that darkness? The air thickened as darkness settled like a heavy blanket over Sarah. The figure before her pulsed with urgency, its luminescent glow flickering as if sharing her trepidation. She took a step closer to the well, the promise of revelation pulling her in even as fear threatened to jerk her back. Sarah, the shadow called again, its voice weaving through her thoughts. Do you dare to look beyond? The well exuded a chilling energy, wrapping around her like cold fingers. She could almost feel the whispers of her past curling around her consciousness, clawing for attention. With a deep breath, she leaned over the edge, heart pounding. As her gaze met the swirling darkness below, she felt a shift within her, a trembling acknowledgement of the truth she had kept hidden. What if the bright fragment she glimpsed earlier was a way out? What if facing it meant confronting everything she had shunned, the pain, the loss, the guilt? Embrace your truth, the figure insisted, its voice wrapping around her like a warm hug amidst the cold dread. Only then can you understand the choices you must make. Before she could reply, a tremor shook the ground. The well's shadows began to surge upward, forming ghostly faces contorted in agony and anguish. They reached out like starving souls, pleading for liberation. Panic surged in Sarah's chest. Were these her ghosts? The fallen memories clawing at her spirit? Stop. You can't do this. She gasped, pulling back instinctively. You must face them, Sarah. The figure pressed, its light brightening to cut through the encroaching darkness. Rejecting them will only strengthen their hold. Trust your heart. Suddenly, an image flared to life above the well. It was her best friend, Lily, the vibrant laughter replaced by sobs and shadow. The memory flooded in, pulling Sarah almost violently into the moment. She saw Lily's face, turquoise eyes glistening with tears, the moment they had fought the last time. Words flared like daggers between them, leaving wounds that had never healed. Lily. Sarah choked, her heart clenching. I never meant. The scene dissolved as quickly as it appeared, but the essence remained in the air, thick with regret. Everything inside her screamed to resist, yet she felt an unraveling, a thread of hope woven into the fibers of despair. What if in facing this, she could make amends? Take the plunge. The figure shouted, urgency amplifying each word. Your choice could be your freedom. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of despair and rage. They urged her to flee, but as panic bubbled within, something else called out, an undeniable yearning for resolution. Do you want this, Sarah? The figure's tone softened, resonating with an echo of compassion. Yes. She cried, determination igniting a fire within her soul. As she leaned forward, the air crackled with electric anticipation. Then let it be your moment of reckoning, the figure replied, the shadows swirling closer to her. With one last shuddering breath, she plunged both hands into the swirling darkness. Instantly, a rush of images flooded her consciousness, painful truths screaming for acknowledgement. Yet amongst them threads of light woven through, memories of joy intermingling with grief. An overwhelming intensity gripped her, forcing Sarah to confront not only her past, but also the latent desires she had stifled: love, redemption, courage. Each moment hit her like a tidal wave, cascading in blinding strokes of clarity and confusion. "What is this?" she gasped, fingers trembling against the unseen barrier between her and her choices, but as she battled through the chaos, a whisper cut through the frenzy: "You must choose wisely, Sarah." It resonated ominously, lingering like a taunt in the back of her mind. Would she yield to the darkness or embrace the light that flickered within? With her heart pounding and vision swirling, she realized her fate teetered on the brink of a choice none could anticipate. The vortex of memories intensified, swirling and tightening around Sarah like a relentless storm. Time seemed to stretch as she struggled to grasp the fleeting threads of her past, each one tearing at her heart. Carefree days with Lily overlapped with moments bathed in guilt, their last arguments echoing in a haunting symphony. Each memory pulled, twisted, and skewed her perception. "Let go. Face the truth." The figure coaxed. Its light pulsated, urging her onward, a beacon against the encroaching shadows. But a familiar darkness lurked too: self-doubt, fear of failure, and an aching loneliness. With every heartbeat, the doubt served to anchor her back into the abyss. A lump formed in her throat. She couldn't ignore Lilia's face, wreathed in sorrow. "Are you ready to make amends?" The voice of the figure cracked through the chaos. "Only then can you be free." "Free," Sarah repeated, as if tasting the weight of the word. What would that mean? Would reconciling with her mistakes erase the pain? Or would it only deepen the scars she had avoided for so long? The memories twisted once more: Lilia's laughter, now intermingled with soft whispers of betrayal. Her friend's last words rang in her ears like a death knell. "You'll never understand, Sarah. You'll never get it. Stop." Sarah cried aloud, desperation twisting her features. I want to understand." The shadows recoiled and surged with her declaration. With a deep, shaky breath, she plunged her hands deeper into the abyss, allowing it to draw her in. It was a sudden spiraling descent into the depths of her sorrow, her joy, the whole expression of her life. It felt like drowning and soaring at once, and then came the light, piercing, brilliant, a shimmering glow cutting through the blackness. In that moment, she could see everything as if sewn together in a tapestry woven of both light and dark. "Sarah!" The voice of the figure returned, urgent and clear. "Do you see it now?" I do," she exclaimed, the realization crashing over her like a wave. "All of it is my fear, my joy, it's all part of me." The vision solidified, she saw herself with Lily, better times filled with laughter and warmth interspersed with their pain. Every moment was a choice, every choice, a consequence. Faces passed before her, a cycle of hurt and hope, longing to be acknowledged, yet just as clarity emerged, a shadow darted through her mind, a chilling awareness. A crossroads surfaced among the ghosts. Each choice branched like thick roots reaching into the void before her. An internal struggle churned within her. Could she save her friendship, mend the past? Would reparation be an act of courage, or would it unveil wounds too deep to heal? What if she whispered, her heart caught in a perilous turn? What if she doesn't forgive me? Forgiveness does not need to come from others, the figure urged, its voice trailing like smoke. It starts from within you. With it came a choice that felt impossible: the risks of stepping forward into her truth or collapsing back into the comforting embrace of ignorance. Each path loomed over her. And deep inside, a flicker of courage ignited, but just as she resolved to embrace the light, a crack split the swirling darkness, and a clamorous cacophony burst forth. The well shuddered, as old pain resurfaced, growing sharper, heavier. "Sarah!" the figure cried, the urgency almost tangible. "Make your choice now." Her heart raced. The darkness threatened to engulf her, the light faltering. Could she carry the weight of both her past and her hopes? The world stood still, hanging on the brink of her decision, and a final image flashed: a vision of her reconciled self, truly whole. Yet, as she gathered herself to leap, a chilling laughter echoed from deeper in the shadows, mocking her resolve. "Do you really think you can escape this?" it sneered. Sarah froze, terror wrapping around her heart. What lay beyond her choice? Would she emerge triumphant, or would the shadows pull her back forever? The moment had come, and everything rested on the decision she was about to make. The cacophony roared around her, a concert of despair that peaked with each pulse of her heartbeat. Shadows slithered closer, their whispers growing louder, drowning out the figure's plea. Sarah felt tethered to both sides, the light fighting against the suffocating darkness. "Sarah!" The figure's voice rang out with a desperate urgency. "You have to choose. The longer you wait, the harder it will become." She stood at the brink, heart racing, breaths shallow. Every option felt gargantuan, towering over her. Clenching her fists, she could almost feel the texture of her pain, rough, coarse, a prison of her own making. "Please!" she screamed into the void, "I need to know what to do." The laughter responded, cruel, malicious, echoing in her ears as the shadows danced around her. They felt alive, mocking her fear and her uncertainty, teasing her with the failures they represented. There was guilt, anger, a tether to everything she had tried to forget. That was when it hit her, like a bolt of lightning illuminating the dark. "I have to face it. I have to confront my truth." The thought surged in her, the ember of courage she had cultivated. "Then jump!" the figure exclaimed. "Let go of your fear. Embrace who you are." With that resounding call echoing behind her, Sarah felt the shadows recoil, surprised by her sudden resolve. She dared to step closer to the light, her heart fluttering in her chest like a bird ready to take flight. Yes, she would leap. She would confront every memory, each scar carved into her soul. Taking a breath, she lunged forward, an act filled with both trepidation and determination. As she dove into the light, the shadows roared in fury. Pain seared through her as memories engulfed her, the past rushing in like a tidal wave. Faces, arguments, moments of laughter all unfolded before her in vivid clarity. Lily's eyes swam before her, full of love and hurt, twisting her heart. "You'll never understand," echoed in her ears, but beneath it lay the sorrow she held so tightly. "I will understand," she gasped, each word pushing her deeper into the whirlpool of recollection. Suddenly, she was there, standing on the precipice of that last confrontation with Lily. The air crackled with tension. Time stopped as she witnessed their final argument playing out in technicolor. But instead of retreating, something inside Sarah shifted. She wasn't just the observer, she was the participant. Her mouth opened, and she could feel the heat of her emotions surging. I was scared, Lily. Scared that you would leave me because of my choices." The scene paused, the world holding its breath. She could feel the figure standing beside her, watching as history played out with all its intensity. "Confront it," the figure encouraged, "release the truth." As her own conflicting emotions broke free, she sensed a ripple of change wash over the past like a warm breeze. "You're not alone. I'm here," she shouted, her voice strong and steady. But then the shadows surged back, latching onto her with an iron grip, intertwining with the scenes of the past. "Can you truly believe that?" After everything they hissed, the darkness threatened to drown her once more, making her doubt falter. Desperation clawed at her insides. "No!" she cried, wrestling against their hold. "I forgive myself, and I forgive you." Light flickered and expanded around her. The moment felt fragile but electric, alive with possibility. Then, like a flash, everything went dark. The air thickened, rendering her breathless as the shadows reared back, laughing maniacally. "Foolish girl," they rasped, "you think embracing your truth can break our hold?" Each laugh echoed menacingly, the weight of their doubt coiling tightly around her chest. They threatened her resolve, and Sarah felt herself drifting again, the shadows on the verge of enclosing her completely. "What if I can't do it?" she thought, trembling as panic riddled her mind. And just when she thought she might succumb, a steady flame ignited deep within her. "No!" she shouted again, the conviction shaking through her. "I choose to fight. I will face this fear." The shadow shrieked, the cacophony intensifying, threatening to pull her back into the depths of despair. Would her resolve be enough? The answer was just beyond her grasp, hovering in uncertainty. Sarah stood poised for battle, the true test looming before her. Would she summon the strength to conquer her past or be consumed by it? Time stretched, hanging in the balance between despair and the light she yearned for. As the shadows pulsed, Sarah felt the storm within her brewing, and all she needed to do was see it through. But even as she tightened her grip on courage, a chilling voice whispered through the chaos, "You think you've faced it all? The worst is yet to come." A new wave of dread washed over her. What awaited on the other side? The pulse of darkness hummed in the air, electric with impending dread. Sarah stood on the edge, staring into the void, where shadows twisted and coiled like snakes ready to strike. Every instinct told her to recoil, but the fire inside her burned steadily, refusing to be extinguished. "What do you mean? What's worse than this?" she shouted, her voice desperate and strained. The shadows whispered teasingly, circling around her, their breath cold against her skin. "Your truth is only the beginning," they hissed. "There are layers you've buried, deep beneath this pain." Their voices snaked into her mind, sowing seeds of doubt. She could feel the heat of the rising tide of memories crashing against her resolve. Each wave tugged at her, a relentless pull toward the familiar shores of self-blame and regret. But she clenched her fists tighter, willing herself to push it away. "Enough!" she screamed. "I've come too far to turn back now." The shadows recoiled, surprised by her defiance, and a sliver of light burst forth, illuminating her surroundings. She saw glimpses of distorted faces emerge from the darkness, figures from her past, each carrying fragments of her regret. Friends she had let down. Family she had abandoned. Most hauntingly, there was Lily, her betrayals, her sorrow reflected back with each accusation whispered by the shadows. "Just look at what you've lost," one shadow rasped, its voice dripping with venom. "They'll never forgive you. You'll be alone in this fight." An icy grip clutched at her heart, but she fought against it. "No," she said firmly, "I'm not alone. I have to confront you all." With each word, the light expanded, engulfing the shadows until they shrieked in horror. Sarah took a step forward, edging closer to the pulsating brightness. The cacophony began to shift, echoing like a symphony. It was at once deafening and beautiful, a melody of pain intertwined with potential. "Face the fears that haunt you, Sarah," the figure beside her urged, its presence solid and warm. "This is where the real battle begins." Filled with a surge of determination, Sarah recalled all the moments she had avoided. The calls she never answered. The apologies left unspoken. "I'm sorry," she cried out, "to everyone I hurt. I'm ready to face it." But the shadows roared back. "You really think that's enough? Your pain runs deeper than you know." Their laughter sliced through her, chilling her bones. A wave of uncertainty crashed over her, threatening to sweep her away. But in that moment of vulnerability, she remembered what she had fought for, the love she had lost, the life she had shunned. She wouldn't let them win. "I feel the weight of my failures," she gasped, "but I also feel the weight of my hope, the hope to change." The light brightened, volatile and bright, pushing the shadows back. They writhed and hissed, their forms flickering. But Sarah pressed on, her heart burning with resolve. "You don't define me. I define my truth." Tension crackled as her words cut through the swirling chaos like a knife. The figure beside her glanced with an approving nod, and together, they summoned every ounce of strength, every fragment of hope bubbling up to the surface. But in that final moment, as the shadows began to dissolve, a deep rumble echoed from within the abyss. "This isn't the end, Sarah," the darkness warned. "You've only scratched the surface." And then, as if all the air had been sucked from her lungs, an unfamiliar force surged forth from the depths, sweeping through the light and crashing over her like a wave of ice. Suddenly, everything went black. "What now?" she thought, confusion and dread swirling within her. Where had her courage gone? Had she truly confronted her past, or had she simply awakened something far more terrible? The vibrations of a new fear pulsated within her, deeper than the shadows she had fought. And as darkness swirled ominously, she clung to a single, terrifying question: what lay on the other side of this darkness? The cold embraced Sarah, a suffocating shroud that wrapped her tightly, pulling her down into an endless void. She flailed, her heart pounding against her ribcage like a wild animal desperate to escape. The darkness pressed in, thick and heavy, smothering her light and leaving her gasping for breath. "Where are you?" she shouted, but her voice was swallowed whole, devoured by the nothingness. In this oppressive silence, doubt loomed larger than ever, a menacing shadow creeping back into her mind, whispering things she thought she had vanquished, but as she sank deeper, a flicker of resilience ignited within her. I can't give in now, she thought fiercely. Not after everything I've faced. The coldness began to stir, shifting into something more tangible. She sensed the return of familiar resentments, deep-seated fears surfacing in her gut like acrid bile. Memories of Lily flooded her thoughts, the laughter, the betrayal, the tears. Each recollection twisted, dragging her back into the fragments of their shattered friendship. Sarah! Look at what you've done! A voice echoed through the void, sharp as glass. It was Lily's voice, accusing, cracking like thunder around her. Please, no! Sarah cried out, anguish blooming within her chest. She squeezed her eyes shut, trying to block out the sound, but it grew louder, relentless, a storm-gathering force. You can't escape your truth. The echoes shouted, reverberating off the walls of her mind. You chose this path. You lost everything. Stop it. She was shouting now, the fury laced with desperation. I've faced my demons. I'm stronger than this. With a fierce burst of will, she pushed against the tide of darkness, summoning the flickering light from her heart. Images flickered in her mind, faces of those she loved, moments of pure joy. The warmth of laughter and love fueled her determination. I won't let you take me. She bellowed. Suddenly, tendrils of light burst forth, igniting the shadows like fireworks in a desolate sky. But as the light expanded, the darkness thrashed back violently, resisting with all its might. The light flickered, dimming as engulfing blackness tried to clamp down around her heart. You can't fight this forever, it hissed, its voice a deceptive lullaby. Maybe not forever, Sarah gasped, but I can fight it right now. Her spirit surged, and with a fierce scream, she thrust her hands forward, sending the blazes of her light spiraling into the shadows. The darkness recoiled, a beast retreating from the flames, but then it regrouped, twisting and undulating like a massive storm cloud. Your courage is a flicker in the night, the shadows taunted. Something far worse is waiting just beyond this bleak veil. Are you ready for that? Fear gripped her, an icy hand squeezing her heart. The thought of something worse lurked, waiting to spring forth. It felt like a knife twisting in her side. Was this a fight that could truly be won? In an instant, the shadows morphed, coalescing into a single shape, looming and misshapen. Its eyes glinted like cruel stars, penetrating and raw. Let us see how far your resolve truly goes, shall we? The abyss stretched ominously like a canyon, an awakening monster ready to swallow her whole. Desperation hung heavy in the air as she took a deep breath, clenching her fists, gathering all the strength she could muster, but before she could summon another word, a thunderous crash roared through the darkness. The force of it shook her, uprooting her confidence and sending ripples of chaos through the void. The entity swelled, preparing to strike, and the ground beneath her quaked. What awaited her now? What terrors hid beyond the edges of her fears? Uncertainty coiled around her heart like a tightening noose. Sarah knew this was just the beginning, but the question that clawed at her was chilling. What if her greatest challenge was yet to come? The darkness pulsed with an ominous rhythm, forming shapes that contorted around Sarah's vision. She felt as if she were encased in a cocoon of despair, the air heavy with the weight of unspoken truths and unresolved pain. The figure loomed larger, eyes glinting with a cruel anticipation. You think you've endured the worst, but your true agony is just a whisper away. Sarah shivered, a cold sweat breaking across her skin. With every word, the shadows taunted her resolve, curling around her ankles, pulling her down like quicksand. But deep inside, a fire flickered, a simmering determination that refused to be snuffed out. I'm not afraid of you. She shouted, forcing the words into the choking silence. I want to know the truth. As her voice echoed in the blackness, the entity hesitated, almost recoiling at the fierceness of her will. The laughter morphed into a jeering cackle. Know the truth? Very well. But truth doesn't always set you free, Sarah. Sometimes, it binds you tighter. Before she could react, the void erupted in a whirlwind of images, each flash plunging her deeper into the recesses of her mind. Bitter memories swirled around her confrontations with Lily, choices that led to devastation, friendships shattered by misunderstandings. Each scene hit her like a punch, leaving her gasping for breath. "See how deeply you've carved your failures into the fabric of your being," the figure taunted, its voice slithering through the chaos. "Can you ever escape them?" But amidst the torrent of despair, a soft glow began to emerge, pushing through the shadows that loomed in her heart. It was the voice of Lily, echoing warmly, full of love despite their pain. "You can mend what was broken. You can find healing in this darkness, Sarah." Sarah breathed, the familiar warmth wrapping around her like an embrace. I want to fix this. I want to make it right." And just like that, the flickering light emanated from her heart, turning into a powerful force that washed over the shadows. Each step she took toward that light felt like reclaiming pieces of herself long forgotten. The shadows shrieked in protest, their frantic movements trying to dissipate the brightness that grew in intensity. "Foolish girl!" they spat, their voices mingled with anger and fear. "You'll never be whole. You'll always be a slave to this mask of guilt." "Enough!" Sarah roared, her voice resonating with newfound strength. "I own my past, but it doesn't own me. I choose to confront it, I choose to heal." The shadows recoiled, twisting and writhing as if stung by her words. In that moment of clarity, memories rushed forth, each character of her past, every tear and every smile, colliding into one another. It wasn't just about her failures, it was about the love that surrounded them, the laughter shared, and the lessons learned. "I forgive myself," she screamed, letting the emotions surge through her. "I forgive you all." The shadows flickered violently, yet they struggled to maintain their form against the onslaught of light. With each breath she took, the energy seemed to expand, swallowing her doubts, transforming fear into a kaleidoscope of emotions bursting forth like fireworks in the night sky. Time seemed to come to a halt, and for the first time in what felt like eons, Sarah felt truly alive, a brilliant light dancing within her. "This is my choice, this is my truth," she declared, radiating power from every pore. With one final incantation, she lunged forward, arms wide, inviting love and healing back into her heart. The shadows screamed, their cries echoing in the abyss as they surged away, fracturing and fading into the golden light. And then, clarity washed over her. The well stood before her, vibrant and alive, a symbol not of her past but of her strength. "What now?" she whispered, her heart still racing but filled with a new sense of purpose. She looked around, and the figure that had been her guide materialized before her, radiant and serene. "Now, you live. Embrace the light you've uncovered within." Will we be okay?" she asked, hope threading through her words. "Yes," the figure replied gently, "when you choose to confront your truth, you open doors to the healing you seek. Love can transcend even the darkest shadows." Taking a deep breath, Sarah smiled, an authentic smile, unclouded by the past. She stepped back from the well, leaving behind all that had haunted her. The shadows dissipated, and the fog that once encircled her began to lift. As she turned to leave, she felt a flicker of warmth beckoning her home. The memories of anguish faded, replaced by the laughter of friends, the love shared, and the lessons learned. The darkness was no longer a prison but a part of a journey that had led her to this moment. Sarah took a deep breath, her heart light, her spirit unbound. With one last glance at the night sky now filled with stars, she understood that every shadow she had embraced was merely a stepping stone toward her freedom. And as she walked away, the world opened up, filled with endless possibilities. She was ready not just to face the day ahead, but to live it fully, without fear. And now, this is the moment you've been waiting for. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss out on any more of these unforgettable stories. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm and keep this channel alive. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Sarah's journey. Your voice matters, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. Let us spread this story and make sure everyone feels the inspiration. Go ahead, do it now.